Hello and welcome to Songwriting Idiots, the show where every month myself and Ralph try and write a song in a genre and on a topic decided by you, the listener. And I am joined over the magic of the internet by my good friend Ralph. How are you doing?
I'm loving this. This, and the listeners will never know unless I tell them, has been our fourth take of the intro. Because apparently Mr. Dan tends to forget what the show is about. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Getting ready for the Christmas holidays. Apparently, I mean, quite early, really. We're recording this on the 9th, and I'm leaving for Austria already in 4 days' time. How are you? I understand you've been a bit more stressed than me.
I've been working quite hard recently. I haven't had a break in the last 7 days. Can you believe that? I've been working straight through solidly. So I'm quite tired, but that's all right. Because it's Christmas! Yay! So I'm in Vienna, for those of you who don't know, and the lockdown here ended a few days ago, and just everyone ran to the shops to buy their Christmas stuff. It was chaos.
Yeah, certainly warranted by the numbers. Certainly.
Yeah, great idea, people. What's it like where you are, Ralph?
Yeah, here in Munich. It's actually we didn't have a proper lockdown until now. I think it's gonna. After Christmas, they're going to introduce one. So the shops have been open. I haven't been. I wouldn't know. I'm
not surprised.
I supported a small, little-known venture from Seattle, Washington this year for my Christmas purchases. I stuffed more money up Jeff Bezos' ass.
Which he needs. Which he really needs that.
Yeah, he does. So, I didn't see a shop from the inside.
Just something else from the inside. Oh dear. Anyway, welcome to the episode, and this is a very special episode for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's Christmas, which is, always a special time of the year. And number two, it's actually the last episode of the season. We've made it through, Ralph. We've made it.
Season 1.
From May through to December. Season 1, with a new song and a new genre every single month. How crazy is that?
Can you believe it? Until now, not even including the song you're going to hear in this episode, we have written 14 songs this year just for this show. That's mad.
14 songs in 7 different genres.
Over the course of, 8 months, right?
Yeah.
So I think we can be proud of ourselves, no matter the quality.
I would like to say that the quality is steadily improved, but I'd be wrong.
Yeah, you most likely would be, but let's assume it did. And quantity is king anyway. We all know that. So
sure.
15 songs, including this one, is it's pretty strong. And we're going to talk about this a bit more towards the end, right? But these songs are at some point in the new year going to be available on Spotify as well, because we will release season 1 as an album. So,
which is very, very exciting. So, Ralph, just in case our listeners have forgotten, why don't we let them hear what we did last time?
Yes. Last time we were challenged with writing a ska song, and as usual I went super old school, you a bit less so, and it sounded a little bit like this.
She's suffering with OCD, obsessive craft disorder. Oh, I tried to warn her.
Sunday morning comes and we're on our way down to Mead County Jail to see Aunt Gail. And I think we can already break the news, I guess, that both these aunts that we wrote about, Jane and Gail, are going to be in the new song as well. So
they make a cameo appearance
because
in our
family
Christmas song.
Time, Christmas is family time.
Yeah. So with that, let's start talking about what we've both been listening to non-stop for the last month, whether we wanted to or not, and that is the genre of the month, Christmas. So, Ralph, what is the first thing you actually think of when you think of Christmas songs?
Sleigh bells, obviously. I mean, it would be sleigh bells and jazz. I think those
jazz.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe that's a very musical look at it, but all the kind of more classic Christmas songs come from a jazz tradition, I would say. And it's one of these. That's the interesting bit, I mean, I guess most listeners can probably relate to that. When you're getting close to Christmas, you're blasted with Christmas music all the time. By the way, I heard my first last Christmas this year on October 7th.
That's very early.
That was mad.
I was just trying to think when I heard mine, and I think because I haven't been out, I haven't heard it at all. But that's funny because when the first thing I think of when I think of Christmas songs is like it's just shopping.
Oh yeah, very much background.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I always think like the poor people that have to work in those shops, like they must be, I don't know, psychologically damaged by the end of the Christmas period.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
Just from listening to people like Cliff Richard and Mariah Carey on loop.
Oh, horrible.
Horrible.
But that's kind of my coping mechanism. That's why I kind of think of jazz, because one positive thing about the entire Christmas music craze about around this time of the year is that you hear different genres on the radio, on like mainstream radio than you usually would. That is the one interesting thing about this, because especially if they play old songs, which they seldom do, it's a lot of 80s, right? 90s. Mm-hmm. But if they play like something like White Christmas or whatever, it's very much kind of jazz-based music that you don't tend to hear that often otherwise, on any kind of top 40 hit station. So that is cool. That's one of the few cool things I can say about, not the music per se. I think there are fine examples of good Christmas songs, but obviously it's just an overload every year.
Yeah, and it's interesting how it really does tend to come from a particular kind of, I don't know, time period. And there aren't that many decent Christmas songs that have been released, I would say, in the last maybe 20 years, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, they all tend to come from sort of the 60s, 70s onwards. I mean, famously, I know that White Christmas was the first ever Christmas #1 in the UK. That's an interesting fact.
Yeah, that was earlier though, right? That was 40s?
That was super early, yeah. And there's a very famous black and white video of him playing it on British TV. But Ralph, being the historian, I mean, we're already back in kind of the 1940s here, talking about White Christmas. Can you give us and the listeners a little bit of an overview of the I'm sure very interesting history of Christmas songs?
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. Yeah, I've looked into it a little bit, but I've actually known a fair bit about it from the work on my podcast, where I talk about the history of Christmas almost every year because people want to hear it. And it's very hard to say when Christmas songs started to be a thing. So in general, I'm sure you're aware, Christmas was traditionally not a very important holiday in the Christian faith. That is something that developed a lot later. Still technically, if you asked any proper religious person, which I don't think any of us is, they would be able to tell you that Easter is the big holiday every year, right? Easter is the main holiday because that's when Christ died and was resurrected and whatever. And Christmas, way less important. So it took a while, but probably people started celebrating Christmas in the 4th century-ish. Maybe there were carols around, we don't know. So we can say it's really kind of a bit more of a modern thing, starting from maybe the 17th century, mostly in the UK, or back then it was England, right? So that's when it slowly started. One of the earliest songs that you would still know today is 12 Days of Christmas, for example. Mm-hmm. That is kind of a proper traditional song.
Well, that's a Christmas carol.
It's a carol, exactly. It's a carol. I mean, all the old songs, obviously, you would call a carol, right? Mm-hmm. So which is just a Christmassy word for a folk song. Let's be honest, right? So it's something that has been around for no one knows exactly how long. But yeah, probably 16 something, maybe 1700s. And we see a little bit of a peak or like an upward trend in the 19th century. That's when a lot of our modern traditions started anyway, not to go too deep into the history. And that's also, for example, when a Christmas tree became popularized quite famously by Prince Albert in the UK, and that kind of also spread over to the US. So that was a German invention, by the way, in case you didn't know.
I did know that, actually.
Yeah.
It was in a pub quiz that I attended.
Oh, nice, yeah. And obviously with the British royal family having German background. Whatever.
Which we don't talk about, please.
Of course not. It's called Windsor. It's certainly not Saxony Gotha or whatever it is, right? Yeah. So that's in the 1900s, 1800s, we see a bit of a spike there. I think I might be wrong here, but Silent Night, I think, is from that era. So that's a real classic. But really, a lot of the more popular songs came in between the two world wars, and especially after the Great Depression. That is kind of the time, or during the Great Depression as well. That is kind of the time when we are moving over to the US, where since then, basically all major Christmas songs have come from. It's an interesting time. We already talked about White Christmas, which was the first really big one. There were a couple before and a couple after. So we can really say like late 30s into the mid 60s was kind of the classic period of what we would today consider classic Christmas songs. So you have a White Christmas, you have your Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, probably loads more, Let It Snow, a lot of songs that you would be familiar with still. And interestingly as well, and I remember hearing about this, but I can't remember the explanation for it, but a lot of these early Christmas song writers were actually Jewish.
That is interesting.
So Let It Snow was Irving Berlin. We talked about him earlier, right?
Yeah.
He was a Jew from, I'm not entirely sure, Poland maybe, Baltic states somewhere.
Okay.
And loads of other people of Jewish origin from Central Europe mostly who moved to the US started making Christmas songs around the 30s, 40s. Very interesting, peculiar, right?
From a religious perspective, right?
Because they don't celebrate Christmas,
they
right?
Don't celebrate it,
yeah.
Right, yeah.
So that's interesting. If anyone knows the reason for this, please let us know.
Yeah.
I'm dying to know.
Maybe it's because Christians are too involved in it that they get too excited. They can't, they just get swept up in all the festivity.
Yeah, that's actually something that I read today when looking into it again. I'm not completely buying that argument. One of these articles actually said that, because they had an outside view or an outside look on it. So they could actually see what made it special a bit clearer than people who celebrate. I don't really believe that.
But when we think about it, these songs aren't religious.
No, that's the thing, right? They're all about the time of the year, I guess, and snow.
Mostly snow.
A lot of snow and family, and sure. And a lot of it could be applied to Hanukkah just as well. Yes, sure.
Of course.
But it's an interesting side note, right? Mm-hmm. And, well, from then on, I guess we can really talk about this very popular genre, really, of Christmas music. Very successful genre, financially speaking, that happened ever since the 60s and was almost exclusively a US thing, with the odd song from the UK making it in. But very much kind of an industry. And from there, it's sometimes hard to really draw a clear line, because all the periods of Christmas songs usually also kind of reflected what was going on in music overall. Last Christmas and the 80s synth boom would be a prime example, right?
It would.
So, and I think you would be right in saying that the last 20 years was a bit weak. Also, this year was quite weak. The Ariana Grande,
Jennifer Hudson, and Mariah Carey. Yeah,
that was a letdown.
So I had such high hopes for that song. If you've not seen it yet, check it out. It's so when I saw that these three kind of female vocal powerhouses were kind of joining forces to release what should have been kind of the most awesome Christmas song of all time. That was what I was expecting. So it was a fair high bar.
Yeah.
A high bar.
Cut them some slack.
And it was just meh. Odd. Very odd.
To me, it was like, it's like everyone involved was apparently just playing it safe. That's what it felt like to me. Like, obviously, they got some of the best songwriters so they could get. I'm sure they did. I mean, there was a lot of money in there for sure. They clearly got three of the best current singers. I mean, that's obvious. And the same is certainly true for producers and mastering engineers and, down the entire line. But to me, it just sounds like all of them were like, we know what works. Let's just give people that. And the star factor is going to take care of the rest. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah, and I mean, they have millions and millions of views already because, I mean, we've just said, go check it out.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's three massive stars, so...
Yeah, they they could put out, I don't know, any one of our songs and it would probably get, 10 million views easily.
Exactly. Probably even more because it would be a real scandal in the media. Look at that crappy song they just put out and even more people would look at it.
We should get in touch.
If anyone knows anybody, do get us in touch.
And Mariah Carey is like the queen of Christmas, I feel.
Yeah.
Like she obviously had All I Want for Christmas Is You, but she also had this fantastic Christmas album that I think came out in the 90s or maybe 80s, and it's really good. Every song on there is just a great Christmas song. It wasn't just All I Want for Christmas Is You. There's some real crackers on there. Oh, hey. Christmas crackers.
Oh, God.
Enough with the Christmas jokes, Dan. So Mariah Carey, I think, has to be the queen of Christmas. And
can we just say it? I mean, of the mainstream Christmas songs, All I Want for Christmas Is You is hands down the best one.
It's not my favourite, though.
It isn't.
No.
All right, this is over. Okay, goodbye, you fucking Grinch.
Well, actually, the singer of this band sounds a bit like the Grinch, if he was pissed. The Pogues.
Oh, yeah. Fairy Tale of New York, right? Yeah,
Fairy Tale of New York.
Really good, yeah. But it's very untypical Christmas. Yeah.
It's such a weird song. And it constantly gets voted number one Christmas song as well.
Yeah.
And no one really knows why. It's just brilliant. I think it's because of that one line, and the bells were ringing out for Christmas Day. I don't know, it just feels it feels almost Victorian.
Yeah.
Like
it's weird, right? It's like Irish folk meets Victorian, not chant, but, kind of organ music, basically, right?
Yeah.
Weird, yeah, very weird.
Very
Great
odd.
song, great song. And I mean, the verses are just good fun. She's just shouting at him.
Yeah. Yeah. But being a drunkard. I know that feeling. One of the things I actually noticed about these songs generally is that Christmas songs are odd in terms of their musical structure. Like this, as we mentioned, Fairy Tale of New York, weird song. Last Christmas, weird song. It starts with like 2 choruses. It's bizarre. Absolutely bizarre.
I mean, starting with one chorus, I can kind of see. It's rare. It's bold.
Yeah.
But I like it.
And intro and chorus, it's odd. And even All I Want for Christmas Is You is very jazzy. It has odd chords.
There's no chord that isn't a 7 in there.
Yeah, or has extra bass notes, and it's all very, very funky. Anyway, with that, I think it's time to find out how we did with our very own Christmas song.
So, this episode is going to be quite a bit different, but before we go into that, one thing will not change, and that is, of course, we're not doing this sober. There's no way in the world I'm doing Advent sober or Christmas time sober, and certainly not this podcast. So we should crack open our beers, don't you agree?
I do indeed agree. So, Ralph, what beverage do you have today?
Funny story. I went to the supermarket and I saw, and that's a very Bavarian thing, which I do enjoy. They have seasonal beers, like for any season or non-season. Every month you have a different beer. And I was looking for Christmas beers, and I bought 2 of them. One kind of a Christmas Madsen, I think it was called, and another wintertime beer. But those vanished over the course of the afternoon. Mysteriously. So me and my girlfriend Karina, we just had a beer each. So that's over. That's not going to happen. And I went to a very classic Munich beer, and I have an Augustiner.
Very nice.
Yourself, sir?
I have the remnants of emergency beer that was sent to me by you, actually. Via one of the food delivery services. So it was my birthday last month, and I had run out of beer all by myself.
And you were in quarantine?
My fiance, because I was in quarantine, right? Yeah, I was in quarantine, unfortunately. So I was trapped, and I couldn't get beer. And then there was a knock at the door, and some guy had carried up 4 flights of stairs, 16 beers. He was so unhappy.
Oh, poor fella.
And that made my birthday. So thank you for rescuing me from my beer plight.
Got you back
on my birthday. All the way from Munich. Isn't that amazing? You from Munich, you can order some poor guy to carry. What was it? Was it 18? 18 beers, right?
I'm not sure. Might have even been 24. I don't know.
Might have been 24, yeah. Carry them up the stairs for me. So, it's an Otterkringer. very classic Viennese beer. So, you ready? Let's pop these bad boys.
Oh, yeah. You go ahead. Nice. Not so nice. All right. So, I already mentioned, this time it's going to be a bit different. If you didn't take a listen to our last episode, we already talked about this a little bit there. So, we decided for the end of the season, we want to do something special because it's also a very special season. And we decided to write a Christmas song together. So usually you get 2 songs, you choose the genre, you choose a topic. This time we allowed you to choose the topic still, but we decided it's going to be a Christmas song. And the topic you chose was getting hammered the night before Christmas. Yeah, so we basically then had to come up with a song together. And usually you would hear the song right at the beginning, but we're going to, kind of keep the tension going here. So we're going to talk about it and show you little snippets here and there, and you will hear the entire song at the end, which is something we did not completely steal from Song Exploder at all.
But I think it works very nicely for this because, usually we each write a song, right? And so I will show my song, you'll show your song, and we'll have a chat about each of them. But writing a song together, I think it's quite cool to talk about how we developed the process as we went through because, we had to do it virtually, which is not the easiest way to write a song. And I think that's going to be the case for a lot of people right now if they're working with, friends, band members. You're probably not living together. So we could pass on maybe some helpful, handy hints and tricks about how to write a song together even though you are apart.
Exactly. And we're going to try and do it basically chronologically. And since I'm clearly, as any listener of the show knows, the worst producer, I gave you the task to come up with the basic foundation of the song first. And want to tell us how you did that and what you did?
Sure. So the first thing I did was, of course, listen to loads of Christmas songs. And I skipped a lot of the songs that you mentioned, Ralph, actually, from the history section, because they're just too old, right? I really started around the era of Last Christmas, that kind of stuff.
And we kind of decided beforehand we want to go 80s-ish, right?
80s, maybe early 90s, max, because that was the golden era, I would say, of Christmas songs. So what I realized was that there's always sleigh bells in every single song I listen to. It's almost like it's a joke.
It's fantastic.
An in-joke.
It is. I mean,
it's so funny. Listen to any Christmas song, and it has sleigh bells. And there's no other genre that uses sleigh bells.
I don't even know what a sleigh bell is. I don't know what it looks like.
The picture that I saw, it's basically, you can hold it in your hand, actually, and it's just lots of little small bells on top of each other.
All right.
Which you would certainly not find on a sleigh.
Well, I guess back in the day, so you don't...
Yeah, but you wouldn't find this on a sleigh. You would find different sorts of bells, I'm sure. Anyway, we've all been conditioned to think that these are sleigh bells. So, sleigh bells were the first thing that I found. The very first instrument I put in was sleigh bells. And I was like, okay, I found my sleigh bells.
So you basically put in sleigh bells before even deciding on a key, because whatever,
yes,
sleigh bells.
Correct. Good. Sleigh bells are always the right key.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have a key.
Exactly, yeah. And then I thought, okay, well, listening to these songs, I hear a lot of kind of upbeat keyboards, I would say. Keyboards, pianos. Yeah, so I found something called 80s Signature Keyboard. I thought this is probably going to be quite good. And then I tried to make the most Christmassy sound I possibly could, or Christmas kind of keyboard melody. And what that involved was essentially working in the key of C, because that means I didn't have to worry about any of the black notes, just the white notes.
That's my classic trick whenever I have to work with a piano or a MIDI controller.
And it's a good tip for any beginners, because you get to ignore all the black notes.
C major, A minor. There you go.
Perfect. Yeah. And so then what I did was I kind of started a rhythm with it and then added in the occasional kind of 7th or 9th note, and or actually sus2, sus4, if that means anything to any musicians out there.
So especially the 7th and 9th, I guess, classic jazz vocabulary.
Exactly right, yeah.
The sus not so much, maybe they're a bit more common elsewhere, but yeah.
Right. Basically, what it means is just adding an extra finger to the chord every now and again in different places and just seeing what sounded good and Christmassy. So, and then I was like, well, this sounds actually pretty Christmassy. So I thought, okay, we have the keyboard sound and we have the sleigh bells. Perfect. So, and I thought, well, the drum beat is just a standard drum beat, right? It's just they're never complicated drum beats. So I just stuck it with a very simple drum beat that I made myself with the keyboard as well.
Is that a first in this show? Did you ever play drums on your keyboard before?
This is a first in the show, playing drums on the keyboard. Yeah, that really is a first, actually. And then, and this I think is key. This is really key. If you think to the kind of intro of "All I Want for Christmas Is You," there's that kind of dum 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 at the beginning, played on, I think it's like a xylophone or something, right? And I found the perfect sound for that, a toy glockenspiel.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I thought I need to add something like that, because that to me is total Christmas. This kind of, very bright sound. So that is in as well. And then I added just some basic strings behind it just to give a bit of, body. And that was it, essentially, at the beginning. And then I just basically sent that across to you and said, hey, what do you think? I sent it via WhatsApp, right? I literally just made it into an MP3 and just sent it to you via WhatsApp and then said, what do you think? And what did you think, Ralph?
I liked it immediately. It hit all the points, right? Everything you would expect was there. Obviously, it still needed work. I mean, that was clear, but it was, all the basics were there. Loved it. So what I then did is I drew the entire thing into my DAW and tried to approximate the BPMs, like the beat speed, which turns out I was 1 BPM off, so my calculations in my grid were a bit weird. But that wasn't really an issue. Then I just kind of figured out the chords and tried out some stuff on guitar, because we sort of agreed that my main thing will be, parts of the lyrics, sure, and then guitar. I'm not sure. I guess we talked about it as well. We had a call about the topic of the song, which we're going to talk about when we get to it. And I think
at some point.
Exactly. But I think we also on that occasion talked about the style of the guitar, maybe, or we did after, whatever. And I offered, I can do strummed chords or held chords, like one slow strum and let them ring and stuff. But we kind of decided to go for arpeggios. So arpeggios are basically separate notes of a chord played separately, right? Mm-hmm. And so basically, I just played the chords you were playing high up on the higher strings, so only triads, only the main notes of the chord, and just fooled around with that. And I added some chorus effect, because I thought it's the most 80s thing is a clean-ish, slightly dirty guitar with a chorus and a delay and reverb. I was like, okay, let's go with that. Why not? Let's go full 80s. And so I basically just fooled around with that. We had a little bit of back and forth regarding the exact style and rhythm, but basically that's what we stuck with.
And we had basically then our template, right, that we could kind of play around with a little bit. And I think really the next step was talking about, well, what's the story of our song? Because we've been told that we've got to write a song about getting drunk the night before Christmas, which I'm sure many of us have had, real life experience with. Mm-hmm. And we had a phone call, didn't we? And we were talking about, well, how do we build a story around this? Because, we could say we're out and getting drunk, and then I don't know, then we get lost or something, and
the fact I'm hungover. The fact that you pronounce it that way makes it sound like that's not in the song, but it totally is.
It is a bit that in the song. That's true. But that wasn't enough, was it? Because how do you make an entire song about being essentially hungover on Christmas Day? It's quite difficult, and how to keep it interesting, right? And we really wanted to make it a story rather than just I'm out and now I'm home and I'm hungover.
Yeah, and also we wanted to introduce a certain, maybe love is a strong word, but a romantic element, right? That was important to us from the start, because Christmas songs tend to also be love and or family songs. So we thought it would be clever to get a girl involved, or a guy. We were quite open at the beginning, but since from our perspective, and we are the most cis hetero males, like whites, all the people who get all the benefits in the world, That's
Yep.
us. And so we thought, okay, let's keep it personal. Let's get a girl involved that we kind of meet on a night out and see where we go from there, right?
Yeah. And we also thought kind of what would be the most embarrassing thing that could happen when you're out on a night out before Christmas. And we thought, well, wouldn't it be hilarious if the night before Christmas, you're out getting drunk and you think it's like any other night, you meet a nice girl, you get on very well, and you think, oh, I might take her home. But of course, at Christmas time, home is really home, right?
Yes.
It's not your dingy flat somewhere. It's really your home. And so our kind of concept became, well, wouldn't it be hilarious if you woke up in the morning, hungover, you look across and there's just someone lying next to you in your bed. Not necessarily a bad thing on most days of the year. Probably not ideal on Christmas Day when the entire family is
Waiting downstairs.
ready to have their Christmas breakfast. And we thought, yes, this could be a funny yet interesting story. And then, Ralph, you had your stroke of genius, I think, with the title.
Yeah, we were just talking, not even, pushing ideas, but I was like, yeah, well, that's great. I think you kind of introduced that girl idea to start with. And I was like, yeah, sure. And why not just call her our secret Santa, because we have to hide her from our parents. So that is how we came up with the hook, Secret Santa, which is always that's always a good idea. I mean, I was primed to that, right? Like, take something that already means something in the real world and just turn the meaning around a little bit.
Twist it.
That's always a good.
It's a classic trick, right?
Yeah.
It's not even a trick; it's just a good idea. That's, I would say, one recommendation, right? Take a common idea and twist the meaning of it, and you get really cool hooks.
Yeah, or like a proverb, a saying, always works.
Yeah,
It's
fantastic.
There's this song we both love. There's this country song, "Friends in Low Places," which is a prime example, right? People say, I've got friends in high places, let me in. And he just had this song, which is completely built on the idea he's only got friends in low places, but that's what makes him a happy man, right?
Yeah.
These kind of ideas. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's a really good idea. So we had our concept, and so we were each tasked with writing some lyrics, right? Mm-hmm. And so we actually did this really cool thing, I think, with the chorus, because the chorus, generally speaking, is the most important part of the song, right? It's the part that people should remember. It's the part that people should be singing out loud again and again. And you need to get it right, and it needs to be catchy. And so we both had a go at writing a chorus, right? And we thought, well, both these choruses are good. And in the end, what came out is this awesome mixture of both of them, which I thought was really, really cool. Like, I would say the first half is mine, and then from kind of the second half, it becomes yours, right?
Yeah, probably that's basically how it goes. Yeah, so the storyline changed on both of them, because I think we both wrote our first draft of choruses before we really settled on the story. So the words are actually from neither. But melody-wise, I think that's exactly what we did. And I'm quite happy with the result, because it kind of matured this way. So we had two different options in our heads as well. Or especially you, when you kind of came up with that mix. And I think it immediately worked. It was just there.
And it makes for, I think, a very interesting chorus. One thing I will also say about how the song developed is it took on, at this point, a distinctly, in my opinion, Motown feel, because the trumpets come in.
Yeah.
And I realised that trumpets come in a lot of Christmas songs too, and I thought, well, I'll put them in. And this is where I took what I learned from the Motown episode and tried to build it into this, and I think it's actually it's quite cool. Mm-hmm. So keep your ears out for the horns as well, and see if you agree with my analysis that this is probably more Motown influence than any other genre, I would say.
Yeah, and also that maybe not so much Motown, but something that's really striking to me is, and that is a direct result of this approach we had with like two separate choruses, mashing them into one, is that we had to become quite creative with the rhythm of the vocal performance, of your vocal performance, right? You're doing the chorus mainly. And I think it really adds a lot, because we kind of had to get this story in. And that was kind of the second half, where a lot of the ideas from my first draft came in, but they didn't really fit rhythmically. And you kind of found a really nice way, I think, of working them in. But it's odd. And we talked about how Christmas songs tend to be odd. And I think the latter half or the last third or whatever of the chorus, when you start to do that, it is quite odd. It's a very weird, interesting rhythm in the vocals, and it really adds to the punch of it, and it makes it memorable to me. So together with the hook, of course, it's
which is key. So I think we've built this up enough, Ralph, don't you think?
Yes, we are ready to reveal.
I think we've prepared the listeners enough. So without further ado, sit back, grab a mulled wine, put on your Christmas jumper, eat something Christmassy. What's a Christmas thing to eat? Chestnuts. Eat some chestnuts.
Eat some chestnuts. Lick a cinnamon stick or something.
And enjoy our attempt at writing a Christmas song. Here is Secret Santa. It's the night before Christmas. I can't put one foot in front of the other. A beer, give me another. It's the night before Christmas, and I can't see where to go. Then I throw up in the snow. Next morning I've such a pain in my head. I open my eyes and see there's someone next to me in bed. And I said, I don't know who you are. Did you come falling down the chimney? Have I been the naughty boy again? I don't know who you are, and oh, what will I tell the family? This Christmas I'll have to keep you my secret Santa.
It was the night before Christmas. I wasn't looking for you, I was looking for fun. I was on the run. It was the night before Christmas. I didn't want to remember, I tried to forget. Tried hard to be preset. And I still got such a pain in my head. Lying there all unaware beside me on the bed. And I said, I don't know who you are. Did you come falling down the chimney? Have I been a naughty boy again? I don't know who you are, and oh, what will I tell the family? This Christmas I'll have to keep you my secret Santa. I can hear the doorbell ring from downstairs. On Gale and Jane came in. I've been no saint this year, more sinner. And anyway, it's Christmas Day. Won't you stay for dinner? No matter who you are, if you came falling down the chimney, I have been a naughty boy this year. No matter who you are, get up, let's go and meet my family. This Christmas I won't have to keep you my secret Santa.
All right, so in my opinion, and I think I'm allowed an opinion because honestly, and that is the nicest thing I'll ever say to you, Dan, you are responsible for at least 75% of this song. So
Much like good or bad.
as an outsider, and here it comes, I think I'm qualified to say this is a hit.
I'm happy to hear that. I quite enjoy it, and I've had it in my head for about 3 weeks. It's really annoying.
Oh yeah, well, annoying, yes, but is it Christmas song annoying? Is it in the ballpark?
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that causes psychosis.
It's a Christmas song.
Let's hope I can sell it, or we can sell it, and we can make millions for the rest of our lives.
I think in 2021 that's going to be the number one Christmas song, and the 20-year drought is the word.
Yep.
It's going to be broken, and it's going to be the next mega hit.
And we need your help.
Well, I mean, it's going to be on our album, but yeah, well, I'm getting ahead of myself because this time, and please keep listening because the outro is going to be quite a bit different today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. It's the end of season 1. We're heading into season 2 next year, and there's some stuff happening in between, and we're going to talk about all of that basically now.
So, just because it's our off season doesn't mean that you should stop submitting your genres and topics, please. You do it on the website, so just jump on our website, songwritingidiots.com, and submit away any cool ideas for musical genres, funny ideas for lyrical topics. We would love them, and that will help us get together our repertoire for season 2.
There's 15 more songs to be written.
Please follow the podcast wherever you listen, of course, and you can follow us on Instagram at Songwriting Idiots. Please feel free to also reach out. It's great when we get comments and questions. We love that. We'll always respond, and happy to have a chat with you as well.
Yeah, we're also on Facebook and for some reason TikTok if you feel so inclined.
It's going to be a long Christmas break, right, Ralph?
Oh,
a long off season. We've got nothing to do apart from social media.
Oh, it's going to be horrible. I hate social media. Anyway, so to explain this kind of season idea and what the plans are, I know it's the end of the year. We want to talk about plans for 2021 with you because the next season is only going to start in May. So that is our first year anniversary. When from May, we're going to do another 8 months until next Christmas, right? So that's going to be the plan from now on until we decide to change it anyway.
But don't worry, because we are not going to keep you starved of Songwriting Idiots' gloriousness until then, right, Ralph?
Of course not. Of course not. So we're going to have a little in-between, kind of between season.
An interseason.
An interseason, where we are going to do a couple of special episodes. Some are already planned. Some might still become a reality over the course of this. It really depends on what we come up with and also on you. More on that in just a bit. But in January, you can certainly expect an episode, kind of a season 1 in review, where we look at the first season, re-listen some of the songs, and also release the first kind of the season 1 album on Spotify, Apple Music, and all the other places. And one more thing we would love to do, and that is something we were thinking of, not just for in-between season, but maybe as kind of a second format, like on top of what we're already doing, because we're not busy enough, is to also get some of you involved. If you are a songwriter yourself, we would love to have you on the show and talk about one of your songs, and also maybe one of our songs that we do besides Songwriting Idiots, because we are constantly basically writing songs. And that would be absolutely lovely. And if you have anything you want to share, and you know our songs, it doesn't have to be great, you can reach out to us. We would love that. And just drop us an email. That's podcast@songwritingidiots.com. That's the easiest way to get in touch. And then we just make that work. And it would be absolutely brilliant if we could do that.
We would really love to hear from you. So feel free to send us any songs you've been working on, just as MP3s. And if you want to write us a little note about the song, even better. And we would love to chat to you.
Yeah, so that's just 2 of the ideas. So that's going to be some stuff you're going to hear from us. So do subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to stay up to date. And we will be back in May with proper season 2. But of course, it's still not May 2021. It's not even 2021. We are still in the final
the ass year.
Yes, yeah. But in the final days of Christmas or getting close to it. And we want to shout out our bandmates, Julia's project. We should also get the band on the podcast. That's a different story. You're going to hear from the band in 2021 as well. But yeah, sure. Julia has a very nice project out. Dan, can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so it's called Slow Christmas, and you can find it at slowchristmas.com, or even better, follow them on Instagram at Slow Christmas. They've got a really, really cool Instagram page. And it's basically cool ideas and presents, all with the focus on being sustainable. Because, you know, Christmas is a time of just getting stuff and throwing it away very often, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a really cool idea to try and keep our Christmases a little bit more sustainable for the good of the environment and of the soul. So Slow Christmas is the place to be. Check it out, slowchristmas.com, or follow them on Instagram at Slow Christmas. It looks great.
Okay, are you going to send Julia the invoice, or should I do it?
I'll send her the invoice.
Okay, cool. Well, and that about does it for this season of Songwriting Idiots, the first ever season, and this year on the podcast. Please stay subscribed, stay here. We would love to have you on for the ride in 2021 for everything we just discussed and for season 2 of this show.
On that note, happy holidays. Have a wonderful New Year's wherever you are, and we can't wait to see you again in 2021. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, let's do this.
Let's go.
do this.
We've been running for 13 minutes.
Jesus.
No.
Hello and welcome to Songwriting Idiots.